there's mixed reports about what's going on in Gaza, about whether people are going back to their homes, about infrastructure being, crudely rebuilt here, and about violence. Reports that some Hamas forces are killing what they consider to have been collaborators with the Israelis. In Israel, there continues to be extensive coverage, obviously, of the homecoming of the hostages and demands that the remains of those hostages who were killed or died in captivity be returned. Not really clear where that stands. The president said lots of cryptic things yesterday about what other countries had done, what he had done, what his team had done, and skepticism amongst people like David Sanger of the New York Times about what the next phase will be, how difficult it will be. So, Sean, just to be forward looking here, what are you looking for next as signs of whether the plan piece is holding or not? Where are the weak links that you're looking at, or the strong links to say, yes, the president's right that this is not just a ceasefire, but a comprehensive peace deal?
I mean, I think the aforementioned things that you just mentioned, does violence ensue? Like, are there skirmishes? Does it escalate? Does the accountability of the prisoner swap into Gaza from Israel get agreed upon? Meaning, do they say, "Yup, this is what you guys said we do"? Because there's some question about whether that happened. Likewise, on the bodies of the hostages, there's going to be, I think, a you didn't give me what you said you were going to give me, and the question is, how extensive is that, and how deep is that? Is that, hey, it's an accounting thing. You screwed this up, or we're on we can't find it because I know Hamas is claiming some of the bodies are buried under rubble. Those are the things that kind of can become a tinderbox and can blow up. And so I think that's going to be, go, do they bubble up bigger, or are they kept at a low sort of ember?
Dan, one of the underappreciated things about Donald Trump that's so smart that I bet you appreciate, because even though you don't support most of Trump's policies, you're not so inflicted by Trump derangement syndrome that you can't appreciate things he does that are smart, is he has no fetish about taking positions on things that if you're a politician or elected official, you're supposed to take position on. Trump basically said in response to a reporter's question, I might be for a two-state solution. I might not. I might be for one state. I'll decide when I need to decide. And of course, that allows him to continue to what he did in order to get the deal, which is try to be friends with everybody. If he takes a position on a two-state solution, he's going to have some enemies. So, what are you looking for, Dan, in terms of pressure on Trump to make moves next?
Well, I think keeping the two sides at the table. So to follow up on what Sean said, I think there's no doubt there will be skirmishes. And there's no doubt that there was a part of Netanyahu's coalition that didn't want the deal because they don't think the job is done. And there's a part of Hamas that didn't want a deal because I think, frankly, it's bad for business. Like, as long as there's an enemy and as long as there's resistance, they kind of can keep fundraising and keep doing what they're doing. So when these skirmishes come up, does Israel remain restrained? And do the Arab partners continue to say to Hamas, we're staying at the table? So
Right.
then the question to you, as you said, is ambiguity is good. But I think at some point between now and the end of the year, there's got to be a okay, X is going to put some troops on the ground to stabilize it, and money is going to come in, and we're going to start this process.
Yeah, really well said. So, Sean, I was listening to my friend Dan Senor, your friend too, on a podcast this morning. He's on Next Up later today. So I was doing like a little homework.
Recon.
And Dan was asked by Scott Galloway, who are the winners and losers of the deal. And amongst his losers were Europe and Canada. And it's kind of crazy. The Europeans and the Canadians, right before the deal, without any demanding any concessions from Hamas, recognize the Palestinian state. And yesterday, I thought the body language the president had towards all the world leaders, if you didn't watch the whole event in Egypt, it was incredible. He kind of called everybody out and he did like running commentary. And I thought pretty chilly towards the Europeans, all things considered. Is there any fallout going forward of the president's relationship with the Europeans, or will the Europeans now bend over backward to be supportive of Israel? Because Dan's view is they bet wrong on this thing.
It's interesting. I mentioned this last night on my show. Like, I find it fascinating that he didn't drill it. He teased Starmer a little yesterday, but I was
Peace
surprised
Macron too.
yeah. I was a little surprised that he didn't rub it in their face a little bit more. Those guys ran
Yeah.
for the hills as quick as they could.
Yeah.
Canada in particular, the way Mark Carney and I actually, anyway,
Will they pay a price going forward, or will they
That's
bend
the
over
interesting. I
backwards
think
towards
it won't
Israel?
look. He won't forget. Trump does not forget these things, and so I think the question is, if the peace holds, he will constantly remember. You are the guys who said this. Da, 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 da. He will continue to tease them, but I think we'll this is a wait and see how it plays out.
But
Yeah.
Like
Mark,
if
wouldn't you
Yeah.
say though that the Europeans and Canadians doing that helped Trump's leverage on Netanyahu?
Well, it's a totally good question. It's the same with public opinion in the U.S., right?
Yeah.
Those two things, I'm sure. And the other thing Dan said was that the Israeli bombing of Hamas in Qatar helped get the deal done
Totally.
because all the countries in the region are like, well, Israel's unrestrained by Trump and nuts. They'll bomb anybody. We can't, we can't have this in our neighborhood. So I don't know. And Trump yesterday, very closed-mouthed, very gave a lot of credit to his staff. Rubio tweeted and said,
Yeah.
someday maybe the story will be told. And he said that several times. But make sure everybody should know the president did a lot of this.
They say that something that's easy is like a walk in the park. Well, easier than a walk in the park, hit the subscribe button, be part of the two-way community, never miss an episode, be part of our conversations. Thank you for your service to America.
And don't forget, you can now listen to the morning meeting and Two Way Tonight on Apple, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts.